Are you a developer or a software engineer who would like to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to the digital space? Well, today is a big opportunity to discuss or have a very good interaction with one of the best software engineers from BlackRock. He will be telling us about how we can maximize productivity using the software tools in the digital space. Stay tuned. You're most welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yep, thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to diving in. I'm someone who's very passionate about technology. I'm someone who's fortunate to have discovered this passion for technology at a young age. As young as, say, 12, I was already trying to figure out logic circuits and make logic.
As young as 12?
As young as 12.
Wow.
But yeah, so I'm excited to dive in. So yeah.
Good. So tell me, what excites you about being a software engineer? What really excites you about being a software engineer in general?
The power to create. So in this modern world, the fact that we have the power to make a computer do what we want it to do, the fact that we can make a mobile phone take a picture and post it online for our family to see, for our friends to see all over the world, the fact that someone can program a vehicle, a car, and make that car drive on its own should be a hint that technology is only getting more powerful. Technology is becoming more ubiquitous, it's everywhere. So it's really no longer an option. It's going to become as mandatory as speaking English or being able to count to 10. Learning how to be a software engineer, or at least a software developer for that matter, is a really important skill to have.
Good. So what are some of the specific skills a software engineer should possess if someone is actually aspiring to be a very, a good expert or a very profound software engineer like yourself? What are those specific skills that someone must possess?
Yes, so firstly, you've got to be a problem solver. So if you encounter problems in life and you push them out, you don't address them, you will not make a good software engineer. Rather, what you must do is you must be able to look at problems from multiple different angles. You should be able to try different solutions in case one solution doesn't work. You have to be creative. You have to have a creative mind. You have to be innovative, have an innovative mind. And you've got to be able to think outside the box,
yeah,
rather than thinking using the conventional ways. And that's where the innovation aspect comes in, because a lot of the things that we may be building don't exist yet because the technology isn't quite there just yet. Just look at self-driving cars. They've been testing this technology for a while, but they haven't quite fully, hit the mass market. Although Tesla is doing quite a good job there, but fundamentally, I'd say you have to be a good problem solver. However, when we're talking about software engineering in the context of a company or in the context of a team, one of the most important skills to have is communication skills. Because as us software engineers, we tend to be nerds. Nerds, stereotypically aren't very good at communicating. They tend to be, quiet, reclusive. They wanna be a software engineer so they can hide behind a computer. That won't suffice. But in order to be a good software engineer, communication, being able to explain your solution, understanding the problem, being able to explain the problem, being able to coordinate with your team members, being able to collaborate with them, being able to resolve conflicts, all those soft skills, as you become more senior in the industry, become more and more prevalent as to why they are important.
Earlier, I was listening to your interview that you had earlier with the gentleman from Wape, and it was important when you noticed that there is a lot of, you actually mentioned that there's a lot of opportunities in East Africa or maybe Uganda, and these opportunities are not being taken advantage of. I wanted to mention and say that Smart Tech as a program, we have kind of motivated the youth out there. Especially, I'm going to actually highlight the youth, because the youth are the people that are actually interested in technology advancements and are the people that are actually very innovative, in this kind of modern space. But I wanted to mention that also, we also know that you, of course, are working with BlackRock, and BlackRock is a very big global leader in investment and also advisory services. What kind of what kind of advice can I say? Maybe I can call it advice. What kind of advice would you give to communities out there, especially tech communities that are struggling to actually scale or upscale their businesses or their ideas into liable businesses?
Yeah. So just to make sure that I understood the question, you say,
Yes.
how can I
Yeah.
advise people in Africa?
Especially tech communities in Africa or in Uganda or in East Africa. It can be a
Yeah.
general scope. But how can you advise them to actually upscale their businesses?
Upskill, skills
Yes.
as in skills
Yes.
development.
To liable businesses, because they have ideas, they have technological ideas, but
Yeah.
the problem is that they do not have sustainable solutions, especially for these tech guys. These tech guys have very good ideas, but then they do not have sustainable solutions. Like they start businesses and then 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks they have stopped or they have ended. What sustainable solutions or advice would you give them?
Yeah. I'll start off with a quote. They say that opportunity, skills or talent actually. Talent is equally distributed. It's equally distributed. It's evenly distributed. However, opportunity is not. That is to say that, as you've said, there's a lot of skilled people, a lot of skilled teams in Africa, in Uganda, but the challenge is they don't have access to the same opportunities, they don't have access to the same resources that they can use to upscale their businesses to make it a sustainable kind of situation. So what's the solution? The solution to that is simply people in the West, where the opportunities and resources happens to be unevenly positioned in. The people in the West sharing their resources, sharing their networks and whatnot here, back home. And I believe that's why I'm so passionate about Africans in the diaspora coming back home, even if it's just for a weekend or even if it's just for a week or a month, just for a short time, such that they can identify these issues that you have just raised as to why companies are struggling to scale, and they can impart wisdom, they can impart knowledge, and they can start things like startup incubators, startup accelerators, mentorship programs, scholarships, bursaries, grants, all these things. And that should be enough to at least kick off the next wave of startup founders, entrepreneurs, and enable them to make something substantial, such that they can build something here back home, and the next generation will have it an even better time, because now they have not only the people who are in the diaspora, but they have people back home who have capitalized on those opportunities and have made it a much better environment.
You talked about mentorship, which is very key, because so many businesses or so many youth out there, they do not have access to viable mentors like yourself, I can say. Because if people had access to mentors like you are, I believe they would be so far in terms of knowledge, in terms of expertise, in terms of liable performances in their businesses. But they do not have access to mentorship. But I think that is something that we can actually work on. And I think, to me, that's why we need to actually have things like mentor-mentee programs where people come and share ideas and, of course, exchange knowledge. So I wanted to have something has been popping up in my mind. What are some of the key technologies or programming languages that you have used to work as a software engineer? What are those key technologies that, as a software engineer, you have used, in your area of work?
Yeah. So I started off my career in Java. Java is a solid programming language. It's an object-oriented programming language. It gets the job done. It gets the job done in a variety of instances. It's trusted by big companies. It's trusted by small companies. You can use it to write web servers. You can use it to write Android apps. So if you're going to learn a programming language that is mature, that isn't going anywhere anytime soon, start with Java. That's the beginning. If you're listening to this, if you're watching this, pick up a Java book, or even you don't even need to use an internet, or if you don't have access to the internet you can go to a library, go through the book, and learn some Java. So I started with Java, but then I progressed on to stuff like C#, which is Microsoft proprietary.
I have actually seen that one.
Yeah, which is kind of like I like to say it's like Java, but a prettier version of Java, because the syntax is a little bit cleaner, like the way that they write it is a bit cleaner. However, that's kind of like tied into the Microsoft proprietary software, like Visual Studio and all that kind of good stuff. But I'd say Java is a safe bet to start with. And then moving on, if you want to just get something up and running quickly, you can either learn JavaScript, which is a scripting language, or you can learn Python, which is also another scripting language. And fun fact, but I'm sure that everybody knows this by now, but there's a software called ChatGPT, which is like basically an AI chatbot software, and that was actually written using quite a bit of Python code. So Python may be a lighter language, but it's very, very powerful. So Java, JavaScript, and Python, those are the three languages I say.
Talking about artificial intelligence and machine language, these are some of the trending, of course, softwares that are actually changing the industry, the technology industry. They are actually improving the technology industry at a very, very large scale. But I wanted to ask, how has BlackRock, or how have software engineers leveraged this artificial intelligence to also continue to improve the trend or even improve their businesses?
Fantastic question. They say that everybody's panicking right now. They're scared that AI is going to take all of our jobs.
All of our jobs. People are scared.
Exactly.
How would you calm them down?
Exactly. And this is even more prevalent in software engineering. Like robots, AI can do our jobs. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Primarily because AI isn't there yet. And AI was written by, humans, written by software engineers, written by software developers, machine learning engineers. So they say that AI will not replace humans. Humans who use AI will replace humans. So let me say that again. AI will not replace humans, but humans who use AI will replace humans.
Exactly.
So ultimately, what's happening now in all these companies, it's still the very early days. We don't know what's going to happen next, but what I see happening across the industry is that companies are now looking into AI and seeing, how can I make my software engineers even better? How can I make them smarter, more efficient, more smart with their resources using AI? So AI is not going to replace people, or at least software engineers. For the time being, software engineers have to learn how to use AI and then replace other software engineers if they don't learn AI. But that's what I say.
Something I wanted to actually get out of my space is that BlackRock is an investment company. Sorry about my throat. BlackRock is an investment company, but I wanted to understand, what are some of the technologies that support investment strategies?
Honestly, whatever company you're looking at, whether it's big or small, it's all about the basics. So people think that there's a secret magical thing inside this big company, because they're like, wow, how can this company be so big? But really, everything started off with basic, simple technologies. So whether it's C#, which is proprietary, or whether it's Python, but ultimately, I'd say simple, good quality software engineering using a programming language like Java is enough to move mountains. That's actually one of the reasons why I love software engineering, because it's not complicated. It's only that if someone is not a software engineer, they may think that someone is doing a magic trick. But whether it's Goldman Sachs, whether it's Google, whether it's Facebook, all their technologies are very simple. The power, however, is actually in the way in which they handle the scale. But that's what I'd say.
Good. Very many youth or communities in East Africa, I can say, I'm going to use East Africa because this is a general problem for East Africans, and very many youth in East Africa, or very many communities in East Africa, they have so many ideas. They have beautiful ideas, brilliant ideas that can actually change or make an impact to the economies, to governments and societies. But then they lack seed capital, they lack funding for their businesses, they lack investment. Now, as an expert, of course, from BlackRock, which is of course an investment company, advisory company, what can you say about that? What is your take on such a conundrum, that is happening to many communities out there? For developers like yourself, even software engineers are part of those communities, and they have the same issue. they are seated on so many good ideas, so many programming languages that they want to put up there. Like you mentioned Java. Someone could be out there with a very brilliant idea that could even bust your mind, but then they lack support, they lack financial support, they lack mentorship, they lack guidance, they lack all that kind of stuff. What would you say about that? What if they are watching us right now and they're wondering how to actually be better tomorrow, or actually upscale, or even find resources to start? What would you tell them right now?
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, those people you described, they need access to resources so they can learn. But even myself, even I need to learn. Like you said I'm an expert. I humbly accept the compliment, but I'm just an ordinary software engineer who's very, very curious and very, very hungry for learning. So I'll just speak for myself and say that if someone wants to learn, then they should be proactive in learning. But as we've established, talent is equally distributed, but opportunity is not. So that's why I feel like people, or the youth in this country, who don't necessarily have access to those resources or have access to those mentorship programs, the best they can do is really put their hand up. But it's up to people who are in the diaspora, the Africans in the diaspora, or just anyone who's abroad, to offer their services here for free or for a cheap price, or for if you're a capitalist, you want to make money for equity in the business. So giving mentorship, advisory services, and when I say advisory services, I mean advising a startup on how to do business, doing that for a small fee, such that the youth who are capitalizing on that aren't squashed with the difficulty of handling everything themselves, like running the business, finding the money, hiring employees. Everything is handled evenly by working as a team with the youth and the mentors from abroad. That's what I'd say.
As a software engineer, before we wind up, because I think time is the saddest thing that I would actually, because I would want to continue this interview with you. First of all, Baila, I want you to know that on record that I'm very grateful to actually be in position to have this good interview with you, because I'm learning a lot from you, and I believe even the people that are watching us right now, they're learning so much. And I think I wanted to ask you, as a software engineer, what sacrifices have you made to get yourself to a level that is recognizable in the world?
That's a very good question, and I will say that software engineering, as I was mentioning earlier, software engineering is something that I'm fortunate to be passionate about. My mum always says that do something you love, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Do something you love, guys, and you'll never work a day in your life. That is something you need to note down.
Exactly. So when you ask me about sacrifices, I'm I'm actually struggling right now to think about sacrifices, because all the elements, the long hours, the spending hours on difficult, seemingly impossible questions or technical issues, looking through someone else's codes, or trying to troubleshoot something that seems like it's never going to work. All these various different challenges, whatever they may be, they're not sacrifices. Those are part of the game. Those are part of the endeavor of software engineering that I have accepted, and that's something I've been doing that since the beginning of my career, all the way up until now. So ultimately,
sleepless nights as well.
Sleepless nights, yes, sleepless nights, but those are the funnest nights, because the nights where I'm dedicated to solving a problem, the nights where I just do not sleep, sleep will not come until I solve the problem.
Wow.
But I don't get tired until I solve the problem.
But it's funny. You must get tired. You're a human being. We're not machines now. We are human beings. There's a point where you actually reach a point of satiety, and you're like, you know what?
Yeah, 100%. You hit the nail on the head, and this is where I will impart this final piece. I feel like it's almost spiritual that once you spend a long enough time on a problem, it's inevitable that you find a solution. So while, yes, I said I don't get tired, that's because within a few hours of staying up, I eventually find a solution such that I can actually go to sleep in a meaningful time. So it's fun. It's almost a spiritual journey, writing software, staying up late at night, trying to find solutions to problems. But ultimately, I enjoy the whole thing.
Good. My last question to you would be actually for the software engineers watching us. What is the vision? What's your vision in terms, like, what do you see in the future in terms of technology and in terms of the latest advancements? What is there out there that we might be missing out and you're actually seeing as a software engineer?
Yeah, so I say, AI is all the rage right now.
Yeah.
So watch out for that. Elon Musk is not wrong in his fears of AI.
Yeah.
So I say watch out for that. Blockchain, that was hyped a few years ago. It still is somewhat hyped, but it's nothing to really be worried about. However, what no one is talking about is the fact that quantum computers are a thing. So imagine, I don't know, I'm not a quantum physicist, so I'm not going to embarrass myself on TV.
Yeah.
However, I'd say keep an eye out for quantum computing. No one's talking about it, but that may be the precise reason as to why you should be worried about it. So yeah, quantum computing, AI, and blockchain.
Good. Thank you so much, Matthew, for being a part of this program. Thank you so much for joining us today. We actually appreciate your deep insights. We appreciate the knowledge and experience that you have shared with us today. It's been amazing for both me and my viewers, and I believe that they have learned so much, and we can't thank you enough, Mr. Matthew. We can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Our viewers right there, I'm very sure that you have learned so much from what Matthew has been telling us today, and I believe that there is a lot that you can actually implement in your businesses. However, we shall be cutting short for a very short commercial break, and we shall be back as we look deeper into what Isbat University is doing, as they tell us about virtual reality glasses that can actually help students, all blind students in the world, to read and also understand what is going on documented papers. Well, this is your opportunity. Don't miss out on what Isbat University is doing when it comes to advanced technology.